Hello and welcome back. In case you missed the first two episodes, this is an 8-part video series about communicated narrative sense making and how we can apply that theory to the world around us and the movies we watch. But also, we can even make connections with that theory to other communication theories, which we will be starting to talk about today. In this video, we are going to relate the communicated narrative sense making theory to face theory, and then apply those connections to both popular films and the world around us. Again, just a very brief refresher on CNSM, this theory focuses on how health and well-being are related to storytelling. Naturally, we human beings are a social species, so we rely on these stories we communicate with each other to bring us together. However, stories can also divide us, as the person sharing the story can emphasize certain parts of the story to make you feel a certain way, for better or worse. Here, we see the clear power of storytelling, as influential people in our lives, ranging from our parents to popular social media influencers, can really change how we see the world based on what they say and how they say it. This is connected to face theory because face is all about who we present ourselves to be in front of different groups of people, which thus alters the stories we are telling verbally and non-verbally. As I was saying, face theory is a communication theory all about who we present ourselves to be. It is focused on promoting human connectedness and harmony, and we can best go about achieving those goals with the suggestions that this theory makes. With all of us being individuals, we all have different perspectives on life, and face theory allows us to explore how we construct each of our realities. Face theory also has three main components, the first of which is face. Face is defined as the favorable impression we want others to have of us, as we want to be accepted into our group of fellow humans. This, of course, influences how we act and also behave around certain people. For example, you don't behave the same around your very close friends compared to how you behave around your parents. The jokes you say are different, the components of stories you tell are different, even the way you say words can differ, and so it's very important to distinguish between those two different settings and which faces we present in those settings. Additionally, there are face-threatening acts, which occurs as a challenge to our current face we're presenting when interacting with others, which could result in embarrassment and losing face, or having a negative kind of feeling about our face. Then there's also face work, which occurs after a face-threatening act, and that can help restore our own or another person's face. We must recognize, though, the face threat that occurred, and then counteract it through different strategies. Some of those include apologies or compliments, and even intimate self-disclosure. As an example, I was having a very close game of cribbage with a good friend of mine, and it literally came down to the very last hand, and I ended up winning by only one peg. And afterwards, he looked so defeated, and I was like, okay, I understand that I beat him in this competition, but I also don't want this to be the last time we play together. And so I reassured him that, of course, he'd get me next time, because I know he's better than me. I just got lucky. And so I was able to produce that face work behavior in order to kind of repair the potential damage that the loss may have done to him. So, as I was saying before, we put on different faces in different situations, but this can lead to mismatched behaviors if you're trying to wear two or more different faces at once, based on who you're with. But that's pretty complex, so we'll skip over that for now. All right, face theory, empirical research. So there's plenty of research when it comes to face theory, but the ones I found most interesting and fascinating are interviews and discussions around important topics. In this article, titled Analysis of Face Theory and Politeness Principle by Shimeng and Q, they looked at a televised debate in 2019 between two female anchors who represented two different countries, the USA and China. The study's main goal was to use this dialogue analysis as a way to help people have intercultural dialogue, as well as the techniques to use when having conversation with someone who comes from a completely different background. Overall, there were face theory violations, what they're called, that occurred on both sides of this discussion, which we can essentially summarize as face-threatening acts, but also misrepresentations of each other's ideas and expectations. However, the researchers were able to create common themes around certain politeness principles to employ when having these cultural conversations to ensure that all parties respect and maintain each other's faces. Those strategies are listed on the slide, which read as tact, generosity, praise, modesty, agreement, and sympathy. Lastly, a key takeaway from this study was that kindly using the strategies that I just listed with some face-threatening acts is an excellent way to have a productive conversation. I mentioned some face-threatening acts because we need some of those to kind of push the envelope in the discussion and get to potentially uncharted territory, but also we need to do that to potentially stand our ground if there are face-threatening acts put against us. But again, that can't be repetitive. It can't be in a very malignant kind of fashion. It has to be kind of just to check the discussion, that the person you're having the discussion with, in order to get somewhere productive instead of destructive. So let's connect face theory to CNSM. As we mentioned in a previous video, the narrative structure is a key component of all stories. When we tell stories, we want to make sure our audience is engaged and interested in what we're sharing, which can increase well-being for both parties. When listeners feel respected and understood, that maintains the face of the storyteller and the audience, which can then result in better health between and within the two groups. Jumping now to character development, this is an essential part of narratives as the individuals within the story make decisions based on their motivations, as well as their motivations to maintain or save face. Motivations can be kind of their personal desires of, let's conquer this country, but also the motivations of, I want to conquer the country, but also have friends afterwards, which is that maintaining or saving face aspect. This is countered, of course, by the villain or antagonist of the story, who utilizes face-threatening acts to put the protagonist in a challenging situation, usually. The antagonist of stories is typically another person, but there can also be stories where the antagonist is the environment, some massive creature from the ether, or even the protagonist themselves, which we see in a film that I'm technically not supposed to talk about. If you know, you know. Anywho, the other connection I saw between face theory and CNSM is how face work varies between cultures. We are all raised in different environments, and this has a heavy influence on how we behave as we grow, and those differences also create unique preferences for the kinds of stories being told. Additionally, this can lead to potentially new storytelling styles that arise from these cultural differences. So, now that we have tied CNSM and face theory together, let's take a look at a few examples of what we just talked about, but in movies. To start, we will look at a scene from the third Indiana Jones film, titled The Last Crusade, which is an archetypal quest story. In this scene, I'm about to show you, we see Dr. Jones as he arrives back from one of his many adventures with a mountain of paperwork and tons of questions from students. Let's watch the clip, and then we'll talk about it.
Your phone messages. This is your appointment schedule, and these turnovers still haven't been graded.
Irene, everybody's down on the list before they arrive. And I'll see each and every one of them in turn.
So, there are a handful of events that are connected to CNSM and face theory in this clip. Dr. Jones lets everyone know that he will see each of them in turn, which shows respect and understanding to the audience or the students, which saves face for both the students and Dr. Jones. However, when we see Indy leave through the window, that is an example of a violation of politeness principles, those principles being agreement and then sympathy. For the next clip, let's examine a scene from No Country for Old Men, another quest story, where the antagonist has a multi-layered conversation with a store clerk.
How much?
69 cents.
And the gas?
Y'all getting any rain up your way?
What way would that be?
I seen you was from Dallas.
What business is it of yours? Where I'm from? Friendo?
I didn't mean nothing by it.
Didn't mean nothing.
Just passing the time. If you don't want to accept that, I don't know what else I can do for you. Will there be something else?
I don't know. Will there?
Is something wrong
With what?
with anything?
Is that what you're asking me? Is there something wrong with anything?
Will there be anything else?
You already asked me that.
Well, I need to see about closing now.
See about closing.
Yes, sir.
What time do you close?
Now, we close now.
Now is not a time. What time do you close?
Generally around dark, at dark.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
Sir?
I said, you don't know what you're talking about. What time do you go to bed?
Sir?
You're a bit deaf, aren't you? I said, what time do you go to bed?
Somewhere around 9:30. I'd say around 9:30.
I could come back then.
Why would you be coming back? We'll be closed.
Yeah, you said that.
Well, I got to close now.
You live in that house out back.
Yes, I do.
You lived here all your life?
This is my wife's father's place originally.
You married into it?
We lived in Temple, Texas for many years. Raised a family there in Temple. We come out here about 4 years ago.
You married into it?
That's the way you want to put it.
I don't have some way to put it. That's the way it is. What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Sir?
The most you ever lost on a coin toss?
I don't know. I couldn't say.
Call it.
Call it.
Yes.
For what?
Just call it.
Well, we need to know what we're calling it for here.
You need to call it. I can't call it for you. Well, it wouldn't be fair.
I didn't put nothing up.
Yes, you did. You've been putting it up your whole life. You just didn't know it. You know what date is on this coin?
No.
1958. It's been traveling 22 years to get here. And now it's here. And it's either heads or tails. And you have to say, call it.
Well, look, I need to know what I stand to win.
Everything.
How's that?
You stand to win everything, call it.
All right. Heads, then.
Well done. Don't put it in your pocket.
Sir?
Don't put it in your pocket. It's your lucky quarter.
Where you want me to put it?
Anywhere not in your pocket. Or it'll get mixed in with the others and become just a coin. Which it is.
So, the antagonist, named Anton, played by Javier Bardem, who is a serial killer in this story, has a sharp conversation with the store clerk. When the clerk asks where he's from, Anton is quick to question his motives, which is when the clerk performs some face-saving actions by saying that he didn't mean anything by it. Also, we see a face-threatening act when Anton suggests he can come back when the clerk is sleeping, which could imply murderous intent. Lastly, there's a lot of tension about the coin toss, and the clerk himself asks the character's motivations about why Anton wants him to call the coin. Moving on to our last example then, from the movie The Incredibles, we will watch the antagonist present a positive face in order to achieve his goal of being liked by the public.
The Supers have returned!
Is that Byronic?
Ironic?
No, Byronic has a different outfit.
No, I'm a new superhero. I'm Syndrome! Someone needs to teach this hunk of metal a few manners! Ha ha!
As we saw, despite Syndrome's desire to fit into the group by presenting the ideal version of himself, the scene comes to an end with a micro-tragic story, as the robot he created ends up being his downfall. This film is a story of overcoming the monster, overall, as the Incredibles family, battles both Syndrome and his cold and calculating robot. Lastly, let's relate CNSM and face theory to the real world. As I mentioned before, discussions and debates are perfect places to see how these stories come into play. So I selected an excerpt from the second US presidential debate in 2016 to talk about with you. As we watch the video, see if you can find some connections yourself between the video and the theories we're talking about today.
You bragged that you have sexually assaulted women. Do you understand that?
No, I didn't say that at all. I don't think you understood what was said. This was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it. I apologize to my family. I apologize to the American people. If you look at Bill Clinton, far worse, minor words, and his was action. Hillary Clinton attacked those same women and attacked them viciously. 4 of them here tonight.
He has said that the video doesn't represent who he is, but I think it's clear to anyone who heard it that it represents exactly who he is. But he never apologizes for anything to anyone. He owes our country an apology, and he needs to take responsibility for his actions and his words.
But when you talk about apology, I think the one that you should really be apologizing for, and the thing that you should be apologizing for, are the 33,000 emails that you deleted and that you acid washed. And then the 2 boxes of emails and other things last week that were taken from an office and are now missing. I didn't think I'd say this, but I'm going to say it. And I hate to say it. But if I win, I am going to instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look into your situation, because there has never been so many lies, so much deception. There has never been anything like it.
It's just not true, and so please go
you didn't delete them?
Allow her to respond, please.
Personal emails, not official.
33,000?
Well, we turned over 35,000, so it was.
What about the other 15,000?
Please allow her to respond. She didn't talk while you talked.
Yes, that's true. I didn't.
Because you
I
have
didn't
nothing
in
to
the
say.
first debate, and I'm going to try not to in this debate, because I'd like to get to the questions that the people have brought here tonight to talk to us about.
And get off this question.
Okay, Donald, I know you're into big diversion tonight, anything to avoid talking about your campaign and the way it's exploding and the way Republicans are leaving you. But let's at least focus on some of the issues that people care about tonight. You know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton. Answer the question.
Why don't
do you still believe
her? You
I
interrupt
do.
Me all the time. Why don't you interrupt her?
Would you please explain whether or not the Muslim ban still stands?
It's called extreme vetting.
In hours, I said that I was sorry about the way I talked about that, because my argument is not with his supporters, it's with him and with the hateful and divisive campaign that he has run.
We have a divided nation because people like her, and believe me, she has tremendous hate in her heart. And when she said deplorables, she meant it.
Russia has decided that it's all in Syria. And they've also decided who they want to see become president of the United States, too, and it's not me. I've stood up to Russia. I've taken on Putin and others.
She talks tough against Russia. But our nuclear program has fallen way behind, and they've gone wild with their nuclear program. Not good.
Mr. Trump, let me repeat the question. If you were president, what would you do about Syria and the humanitarian crisis in Aleppo? And I want to remind you what your running mate said. He said provocations by Russia need to be met with American strength.
Okay. He and I haven't spoken, and I disagree. I disagree.
You disagree with your running mate?
I think we have to knock out ISIS.
Would either of you name one positive thing that you respect in one another?
I respect his children. His children are incredibly able and devoted, and I think that says a lot about Donald.
I will say this about Hillary. She doesn't quit. She doesn't give up. I respect that. I tell it like it is. But she does fight hard, and she doesn't quit, and she doesn't give up, and I consider that to be a very good trait.
Throughout the video, there are plenty of examples of face-threatening acts, saving face, and even repairing face. Just name a few. Trump calls out the moderator for not understanding what the 2005 audio really said in a face-threatening act. Clinton threatened Trump's face by calling him and his temperament unfit to be president. Then, at the end, both of them were asked to perform face-saving actions to say something positive about each other, which I think was a very nice way to end the debate. Lastly, face-saving and storytelling as people of influence, like our politicians, are always subject to the rules of linguistics. Excellent leaders should always be wary of extreme language, which both candidates used in the previous video, and they should instead utilize soft language that is open and perspective-seeking. They should also use hints and ambiguities that allow for deeper conversations, and also repairing and saving face through apologies and explanations for behavior, which we need more of in the US and the world as a whole. So, all right. Thank you all for walking with me through how CNSM theory is tied to face theory, as well as films and other worldly events like politics. Next time, in the next video, we will connect CNSM with multiple goals theory, along with some great examples from films like Unbroken, as well as real-world situations like hostage negotiations. So, thank you again, and see you in the next video.